Hello YouTube video viewers, we're back with another episode in SnowRunner. This is a continuation of the first couple of videos that I did, which were about how to get the Azov 64131. It's a Russian truck, 8-wheel drive, decent tires, and it's probably one of the better trucks you can get in the early game. The first video focused primarily on how to get it starting from a new game. Of course, if you're not starting at a new game, well, then it'll be a little bit quicker. The whole process took me about 65 minutes. The second video was buying the truck, or going to Russia, buying the truck, coming back to Smithville Dam, and there was recovering a GMC pickup that was located out on the coast here, right about this area. And I finally finished it off with going looking for the differential lock for the Chevy pickup. As it turns out, it's actually in this area of the map. If you want to find out exactly where the add-ons for the Chevy pickup are, including the differential lock, the lift kit, I believe there was an engine upgrade, you can check out one of my previous videos. It was actually either the first or the second one I ever posted to YouTube. I've only been doing this for under a year now, so it's not that many to scroll through. So you can go ahead and find it in the listing of videos. Today, what we're going to focus on is a few details on how to actually use the 64131 and how to make some extra cash, collect a couple more trucks, go to other maps, and generally just a little bit more information suitable for SnowRunner beginners. Those of you that watched the first couple of videos may remember that I'm focusing this primarily for a coworker that recently started the game, but if there's any other people out there that are not familiar with SnowRunner that would like to learn a little about the early game, and you can't find any of the actual good YouTube channels that are around there, you're welcome to hang around and watch. Anyways, let's get on with the video here. Apparently it's about 6 a.m. here. So the first thing that we're going to want to do to earn a little bit of cash is we're going to clean up the boulders here. So I'm in the map, and I'm going to use the R2, L2 to switch over to tasks, and the long way should be the mission that we're going to do, and I want to track that. And I have to pick up 2 service spare parts, which are just down the road from the garage, and I have to take them to that location. And then I'm going to proceed past there, and I'm going to go to another of the maps. So this will be kind of educational there. Now you can see that I'm not really cleaning up many of the watchtowers. That is actually a very good idea to do in the early game. I've done the early game on this quite a few times. I know that this upgrade is not something that particularly interests me. I know what I'm going to find under the watchtowers. Oh, actually, I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go recover a truck, which is down about here. That can easily be done with the 64131. Well, maybe not easily. Easily for me, maybe not so easily for a new player. But let's get on with it here. So we're in the garage, and as I stated in the first video, if you want to move between regions, like for instance when we went to pick up this truck, you have to make sure that you use the square button to retain your truck. See down on the bottom where you've got the menu, move up, down, select, and retain. So that puts it into truck storage. That allows you to pull it out at any of the other garages in any other region. And you just do that by deploying it using the X button, and now we're ready to go. So we're not going to do any customization on this truck just yet. We're going to start by leaving the garage, and we're going to head down the hill towards the dam. Now, there is still a ton of missions to do in Black River. However, they won't pay quite as well as what this will. Those of you that watched the first episode may remember that there was a rock fall there. I cleared that up using the Scout trailer and the Scout 800 truck. Chevy pickup would also work for that. It's all pavement and it's a very short little run. Only took a matter of about 5 minutes to clear that. Come down the hill and we turn left, sorry. The box that's mounted on this truck, you may recall, was initially on the GMC 9500. We took it off when we sold it, and we kept it for this truck. All right, we're almost to the dam, and there's a road just up on the left here that we're going to head down. And there's what the map looks like. You may remember from the first episode that there's a little compass just underneath the M in Michigan, which shows you which way is north so you can orient yourself. So we're just heading down this hill on to the east, I guess. Now sometimes you'll want to use the cockpit view just because it's a little bit easier to see where you're going when you're going through woods. There's a particularly sharp corner here. And let me just show you what this looks like. Come down there, and then you got to do this sharp corner. And I'm actually going to kick it into low range so that I can use my brakes a little easier. And I did not actually plan this out very well, or I would have mounted a frame to do some repairs on the vehicle that we're going to recover. Okay, so we get to the bottom of the hill and you can see that there's sort of a road here more or less, but where we're heading is actually over there. So we're going to take a right here and we're going to follow the river a little bit. Now aside from its relatively slow speed, one of the big downsides about this truck is it doesn't have a particularly sharp turning radius. And the water is not that deep. It's a nice rocky bottom instead of mud, so it's pretty easy to cross. Even something like the Chevy pickup can come through here pretty easily. Although that wouldn't have the kind of power we need to recover this truck we're going after. And I'm just going to stop periodically and show you where we are on the map. So you can see that we've come down the hill. This was just before the dam. We've crossed the river here. And if we zoom our map in, you can see that there's a truck sitting in the bush here. We're going to go recover this truck. And I'm going nice and slow through here because the last thing I want to do is to tip over or something. There it is. And that little white icon next to the truck is a mission marker. Okay, I may be jamming up on these trees. And it's kind of a beat up piece of crap because it's been sitting in the bush for a long time. So I get onto the yellow square, show the task, I accept the task, and I start tracking the task. Now what I have to do is I have to deliver this truck to parking. And then I'm going to have to fix up the, repair it. Now parking is back up at the garage. So you have to bring it right to there. So what you have to do is essentially tow it back out to the road, back through here, and then up this hill. The one part that's a little bit tricky is when you try to get it around this sharp corner here, because there's a rock on one side. But I think that's the way we're probably going to try to go. I've also had some success in the past by just cutting straight up the side of the hill, but that's extremely risky. So we'll attach the winch. We select the rear winch point by cycling through it with the thumb pad side to side. Then we select the front bumper point on the truck. And we're now connected. And I'm going to tighten this winch up so that the truck is following me fairly closely. Now, if you fit your truck so that you can do repairs on this vehicle, then you can generally start the engine and it'll take some of the load off of the truck you're pulling with. But I'm pretty sure the engine's destroyed, the gas tank's destroyed, and all the tires are flat. So right now we're just straight up towing it. And you can mow down trees, but you ain't gonna knock over a sign. Now instead of going through the mud, I'm gonna cut over to the left here and stay on the rocky section. And you can see it's following along nicely. By the way, if you want to zoom in and out with the camera, you can do that by moving the left stick forward or backward. Okay, now this is potentially the difficult part, so I'm going to pull this thing up a little tighter. Now, you would think you could go straight up the hill there. Trust me, I've tried it. It does not work. If you're taking this road, you have to follow the actual road. And it's not easy, it does kind of struggle. Once in a while you have to let off the throttle a little bit, let it see if you can recatch the engine is broken. Okay, so that thing's not going to do me any good. And I'm just sitting here spinning my wheels. So what I'm going to have to do is disconnect the winch, and I don't think that truck is going to roll back very far. Oh, we're moving, sort of. Okay, so I disconnect the winch, and I move up a little bit. And now I have to do that whole stupid reconnect thing manually because it wants to grab trees instead of the truck. And I'm grabbing on the lower side so that it tends to pull the truck up the hill a little bit more because there's a rock that it's going to want to hit on the driver's side of this truck. And I think I'm sitting against that tree. That might be what's preventing me from going forward. So I'm going to have to disconnect the winch again and get a little bit better angle on this. And what I'm doing is I'm continually trying to find spots where I can pull this thing up just a little bit further, make a little bit of progress, and then continue from that point. And you can see it's hanging up on that rock that I was talking about. And it may be starting to hang up on these on the stuff on the right hand side now. Okay, so now I got to drop the winch again, or at least if I stall out and I'm not moving, I do. I'm also sort of turning the wheel back and forth, left to right. I'm just trying to ease it up, like anything it'll take to keep moving no matter how slowly. I got tons of fuel, I don't need to worry about that. And that was the tough part, just getting it around that corner. If you can get around that corner, you can consider this mission to be finished. But as you saw, it's quite difficult. And I've got plenty of experience in this game, and it still challenges me every time I have to do it. So now we retrace our steps to the garage, and those of you that watched the first couple episodes may remember left trigger on the controller will allow you to put down markers that you can see so that you don't miss your corner and end up taking a wrong turn somewhere, and sometimes you happen to be pulling a trailer that you can't necessarily back up properly with. So now I've got these blue markers all over the place, and it only shows the next one in the line, and then as you get close to it, that one disappears and the next one becomes visible. And I can tell that the truck is still connected because the release winch is still an option. Or, whoops, I can simply use my right stick and look out the back. Or look in the mirrors. Mirrors aren't all that high resolution in this game, but they're functional, they do work. You can tell you got something back there. Want to make sure we don't go into that big swamp beside the road. And we just have to drag it into the yellow square here, if I remember right. And my reward is to keep the truck. Now, I could just drag this thing onto the garage square and then recover it back to there. But rather than doing that, I'm going to show you the other way that you can recover this maybe a little bit easier if you're planning ahead. So go into the garage and we'll customize this truck. Go to frame add-ons. And we're going to try to find a service bay. That's locked until level 4. I just hit level 3, so that's not going to help me. But you could do the maintenance frame add-on. And if I choose that, it costs $5,300. But I can sell it back afterwards. I'm not stuck with this thing. I can sell it back for the exact same price. The exception to that is if you're playing on hard mode. Then the stuff that you're selling is only worth half as much. But honestly, if you're this new to SnowRunner, why would you be playing on hard mode? Now, as you can see, the back end is a lot longer on this, so it doesn't have quite the same clearance to get around corners and such. But the advantage of putting this frame mat on before you go to get the truck is that you can do some repairs to it. So we pull up to the truck, we open the function menu here, and we go to repair. Then the target, using the triggers, we change to the White Western Star. Now, the first thing is you have to make sure, I'm going to change the source to the frame add-on. You have to make sure you fix the gas tank first, otherwise any fuel you put in will just end up running back out again. And the next thing you want to fix is probably the engine. And it's more important to fix the gearbox than it is to fix the suspension. And then finally we got 5 wheels. This thing's got 6. We can fix those. We can then use the bumpers to switch to the spare wheel that's on this truck. And we can fix that one. And what that allows us to do now is if we turn this thing around, actually, you know what? In order to make this even more dramatic, I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to go to the Scout 800. I'm going to recover this. And now we're at the garage, just close to where we have this truck. We can back up to it, connect the winch, and two-wheel drive, barely moves it. But if we click on the turn on engine thing, oh, it's out of gas. Okay, let's put some fuel into it. So we go to refuel. And that maintenance add-on also has fuel on it. I should have done that earlier. I'd forgotten about that though. So now we turn the engine on the big truck. And it's moving under its own power. I'm not even in four-wheel drive, and it's having no problem. All that the small truck is doing is providing direction to it. Now, oops. Now, to be fair, it was on a pretty long line there. So we'll suck that in so it's nice and close. Now, if you were using the larger truck, the Azov, and you had it repaired to this level, it would have been no problem coming up that hill. Okay, now the reason that it pushed my back end around is because this thing is actually driving itself. All I'm doing is giving it directions using steering and that. And because it can't turn as sharp as the Scout 800, it actually ended up pulling my back end around. But as you can see, this would make it very easy to recover that truck. So we're going to drag this thing in here, disconnect, move to garage, retain this, go to the White Western Star, move to garage. There you go. It's fixed. It's in brand new condition. We can retain that. And now it's in truck storage, and if I wanted to sell it, it's worth $48,000. But I don't really need $48,000 just now, so I'm going to hang on to it. So we'll leave it in there. We'll go back and we'll get the Azov. And we'll go to the garage. And we'll retain that one too. And let me just check and see the time elapsed on this. Is about half an hour. So it took half an hour to basically make 50 grand by recovering one truck, and I did it the stupid way instead of the smart way. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to Black River, because there's another truck you can get there, and it's not all that useful. It's mostly good for selling at this point, but it's a free truck and it gives you extra operating capital, so we're going to do that. So we select the we select the Black River map, and then we can either click A to accept or square to move to the garage. And we're going to move to the garage. Okay, and if we open up the map, you can see that we got Black River here. The only territory that's been exposed is basically where I had to go to get the Scout 800, which was about here, and then to get to the gateway to Smithville Dam, so that we could retrieve the other vehicles needed to get the Azov 64131. Now there is another truck which I believe is in this general area here, I want to say, and this map is actually easier than Smithville Dam. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Azov out, and we're probably going to hit this watchtower first to expose some territory. Whoops. Hit this watchtower first. This one I believe is up on a mountaintop. So yeah, we'll do that with the Azov. So we go to truck storage, bring this back out, and I'm not going to use this maintenance frame this time. I'm going to switch back to the to a flatbed. So I go into frame add-ons. I find the one with the check mark on it. I select uninstall, and then I sell it. And I get back all the cash I paid for it. And the sideboard bed, typically I prefer a flatbed, and I'll show you why in a little while. But for now, let's go with the flatbed. And we can leave the garage. Now there are some trailers outside the garage here. You can sell them, or you can keep them and use them for missions. If you need them for a mission, you're not allowed to sell it. And I believe if you need it for a mission, you also don't get that XP for it. Now, there was something I needed steel beams for. I'm not going to take this, but if I did want it, all I'd have to do is back up to it, go here to attach trailer, and then I can take it and do whatever I want with it. But I'll just leave it here for now because we're after a truck. And at this point of the game, unless you're really hard up for money, I would recommend that you probably make a point of taking your little scout vehicle out and just exploring the map and trying to expose some of these missions and stuff like that, because that also tells you what you need for completing the mission. I know I need those steel beams for something, but I'm not exactly sure what. And I think rather than doing this in the darkness, I'm just going to advance time. Skip time until we get to 6 a.m. And then it's nice and bright and we can see what we're doing easier. And that was the triangle button when I was on the map to skip time. This mud hole can be extraordinarily difficult with trucks in the early game. You're better off to actually drive around the worst of it. The Azov would be able to get through there, but not without slowing down a bit. Now, if you've tried driving with the GMC 9500 or the Fleet Star using their highway tires that they come with, you would still be sitting back in the mud trying to pull yourself out with the winch. This thing, however, even though it's not fast, it's consistent. And it'll motor through most of the stuff you encounter. And these are not the best tires you can get for it. These are just what it happened to come with, which are all-terrain tires. The off-road or the mud tires are considerably better. Now, there is actually a mission very nearby, out here in fact, to rescue a truck. And it's challenging, but it's doable with this truck. You basically have to get all the way out to here, and you have to highlight the little yellow square and accept the mission. And I believe you're taking this back to the farm, which is along the road to town. You would have to take it back to about here, and there's also a pickup that's stuck in the field here, which is a big mud hole, and that's another mission. It's pretty easy to do with the Azov. This one where you're fishing it out of the lake almost, that's less easy to do, but it is doable, but it's quite time consuming, and you're going to end up having to use your winch a lot in order to manage it. So for now, we're not going to bother with that. I'm staying off the center of the road where the more solid ground is. Except for here, and it does bog down a little bit. Now, do I want to go up the hill and chase after that watchtower? You know what? I don't think I do. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that you actually can see even though the map is kind of grayed out, it's not totally black, but you can see when there's other vehicles on there. You simply have to look for them a little bit. I've got a road blockage here. This is the main road into town. This is the bridge that you build in the tutorial. So this is a fairly easy one to do. I think that might be metal beams. And there's a couple of bridges out. But I believe where we're looking for is going to be somewhere in this area here. And I may, rather than doing the watchtower, simply head for the location. Now, one of the nice things about this truck is it's got an extremely large fuel tank and very low fuel consumption. The road on the right would lead to the warehouse. I don't need anything there just yet. The road on the left is kind of a shortcut through, but I'm going to go the long way around. It's going to put me down in this little swamp here, and there's a trailer to be rescued down there. Now, if you follow the road straight through there, it's going to be extremely muddy, and you got a good chance of getting stuck. If you kind of bypass the road and you just cut through this section, you can miss the worst of it. And this is sort of the exit from the swamp. However, you would have missed this little trailer that was here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a marker over here, and we're going to go after that thing. And I'm just going to back in there. Now, the mud hole that we went into when we got the TranStar in the first episode, that wouldn't even be the slightest bit challenging with this truck. I may have spoken too soon. It is starting to bog down a bit. Missing oil tank discovered. So let's accept that task, start tracking it, and it wants us to take this oil tanker to that gas station. I'm pretty sure the road isn't open to get there, but what we're going to do is we're going to haul this thing out to give us a fuel source that's a little more accessible. And are we close enough to attach? No, we're not. Now, one trick you can use if you can't get attached to a trailer is you can attach your winch to the back point on most vehicles, and then to the hitch on the trailer, and use that to pull the trailer hitch towards the hitch point on the truck. And sometimes you can get it close enough that you can do the attach, and now we're hooked up. Now, I didn't have quite enough traction to get rolling, so I basically just used the quick winch. That's the triangle button. On the PlayStation, it would be Y if you were doing this on a Xbox controller. And that gets me moving slowly. And I'm just going to use that quick winch to find myself points that I can get it dragged out of the worst of the mud. And you can direct the quick winch a little bit better from the interior view. It'll try to grab the point that's closest to the center of your viewpoint. And it can often be helpful to use low range on this because you get a little bit less wheel spin. It's kind of like real life in that way. Another tactic you can do is if you get dug in and you're absolutely not moving, disconnect your trailer and see if you can pull your truck to a little bit better traction, and then hook the winch on and suck the trailer forward. And sometimes you have to do that like in steps, where you'll move the truck ahead a little bit, and then you'll winch the trailer closer, and then you'll disconnect the winch and you move the truck ahead more and pull the trailer closer, and do that until you hit some solid ground. I actually ended up pulling this thing out with the Chevy pickup using that technique. And it was absolutely not easy, but it got the trailer out of that hole. Okay, now I just want to make sure I've got my bearings here. I believe we want to take the road on the I'm going to say we're going to take the road on the right, and then we're going to turn here to the left. And I'm just going by memory. If I could see the entire map, it'd be a little easier to figure that out. Alright, what do we have around us? Looks like we have a sawmill just down the hill. We're sort of heading for this general area here, so we'll just keep going along this road. Now, as I've said a number of times, if you've already explored the map and you've opened things up and you can see what's around you and you've maybe accepted a few of these missions, and by the way, accept every task you find. You don't necessarily have to do it right then, but if you accept it, it's in your list and you can activate it whenever you want to. Otherwise, you'll have to drive back to that spot on the map to accept it. But as I was getting at, if you've already done some of this stuff, maybe the map is more exposed for you and you can kind of see where you're trying to get to. Or maybe you've opened up some of the blocked roads, broken bridges and stuff like that. Alright, so we've got a bridge out here. Nope, we have a rock fall ahead of us that we have to clear up. And we've got a bridge out over here. And I want to say that truck is probably somewhere down in this swamp area here. Or is this it? I'm actually not sure at this point. As I've said before, you can zoom in and you can kind of see what's around you. I think we're probably going to backtrack and look at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect this trailer right here. And a lot of times, unless I actually need the money for completing the mission, or unless I'm trying to get the XP, I'll find it easier to leave something like fuel trailers laying around, because then if you're on a mission to do something else, you've got essentially a mobile gas station here. Now I'm only 100 liters down in fuel, but I'm going to top up on this thing. So refuel from the carrier into my truck, and I'm full up on gas. And they don't really care how much gas you take out of those containers before you deliver them. It's not like you take it there and they complain, oh, it's supposed to have 2,000 liters and it's only got 200 liters. Some of the later maps, if you get below about 10% of its capacity, they will complain a little bit. Okay, and I see I've been recording for almost 55 minutes now. And I believe this is the truck we're trying to get. So I had a good feeling about this. It looks like I can probably get at it here from this side. I don't think we're going to get it all the way back to the garage. But we should be able to pull it out of the mud. Now, I'm not going to go too crazy about driving into this mud hole. Or maybe I will. It doesn't look too bad, actually. Okay, so we attach the winch, hook onto the back of the truck. Now, because this is a truck that you can keep, we can now shut off the engine, change truck, and then recover to the garage. It's been repaired, but the all-wheel drive is only available in Alaska, so this truck is not particularly useful at this point to the game. At best, it's only four-wheel drive. Right now, it's only two-wheel drive. It's got relatively small fuel capacity. So generally speaking, what I'll do is I'll retain this one, and I'll just sell it, and there's another $33,000. And if you decide you want it back, you could always buy it back later. So we made 30 grand on this episode, and potentially we could sell this for another 48,000. For a total of 78,000, almost 80,000, and that's just between the two trucks that we recovered. And as I said, we did this one the hard way. The other one that we got, we didn't need to bother to tow it anywhere. We can just jump in and use the recovery function. So hopefully that's been a little bit helpful in some of the aspects of SnowRunner if you're a new player. And because he asked me about it at work, this whole switching regions thing, see where it's flashing global map? You just go to there and you can switch one of the other regions. Russia's where we went to buy the truck. Alaska's where it forces you to go for the tutorial. Michigan is where you probably want to start off. And these other ones that you see flashing, these are all DLC maps that I've purchased separately. So I can play those in co-op with other people, but I can't actually unless you've bought the map, you won't be able to look at these things. Okay, anyways, thanks for joining me for this episode of SnowRunner. Hopefully you've learned a thing or two, and I don't know how many of these I'm going to bother making. It's not my regular type of content. But who knows? Maybe I'll do a few more of them. Maybe one of these days I'll even do one of co-op gameplay. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.